Alright, we are recording.
Awesome.
Good evening, everyone. Today we're here playing Terra Invicta, just released today.
Alright, yes, hello.
Yes, I got Nacho Revolution with me.
Yes.
So, we are going to be playing the Resistance. So, what this game is, it's pretty much a XCOM mixed with Hearts of Iron 4. So, it's a grand strategy game where you try and where you control a faction, and the basic gist is like aliens just arrived on Earth, and it's like the world is split on how to deal with it. So we're going to be playing as the Resistance. There are 7 other human factions, and then the 8th faction would be the aliens. So we're going to play as the Resistance, so our goal is to resist the alien invasion. Your phone be going off, my guy.
That's me.
Alright, so the Resistance is the only faction that has a tutorial. I already did the tutorial, so I have a general idea of what's going on, but I'm still learning, so I'm probably going to make a lot of mistakes. But what's better than one idiot trying to figure this out is 2 idiots trying to figure this out.
Yes, because I have no idea what's going on, so...
Yep, so I will try and explain it as I go to both you, the audience, and the nerd behind me.
Excellent.
So let's get right on into it.
We remember the day the stars answered, the day we learned we were not alone. As a familiar sun rose on an unfamiliar universe, some of us saw wondrous possibility and others existential danger. The astronomers had insisted that the bright streak in the sky was no natural phenomenon. Most of us didn't really believe them until it burned through our atmosphere and crashed in a remote region, leaving only wreckage and uncertainty. In our ignorance, we fractured, taking refuge in our most primal emotions. Each of us saw what we wanted to see. Everyone loves heroes, depends on them, to save us from evil, lead us through darkness. Problem is, real heroes are always ignored. What no one understands is that being shot at is easy. The hard part is convincing someone they're drowning before it's too damn late.
Alright, so...
UFO crashes on Earth, alright.
Yep, so, yeah, each faction has their own special intro. I mean, there's like the first half, and then the second half is custom for each faction, so...
China, huh?
So, yes, the UFO has crash-landed in China. So, this crash can actually happen anywhere on the map. It can happen in Michigan, for all I care. Or it can...
Just new each time,
It can happen in Michigan, it can happen as it has in China, it can be in the middle of Africa. Whatever nations are there, I can't remember them all. UFO crashes on Earth. An alien vessel has crashed down in the however you pronounce that region in China. What? I don't speak Chinese.
Okay, anyway, keep going.
While the wreckage is unrecoverable, we suspect an alien life form escaped into the surrounding countryside. You're giggling behind me. It's not helping.
I didn't do anything. Alright.
So,
continue.
alright, so...
Take me there.
Okay, so take me there.
Greetings, Commander. I am pleased to report the Council has appointed you leader of our organization. I am Fiona Iwade, your Chief of Staff. While most of the world is reacting with fascination at the arrival of an alien species on Earth, we represent a small group who believes the aliens' crash landing and disappearance may signify a potential threat. We intend to build an international organization capable of investigating and, if necessary, combating any danger aliens may pose.
Sounds nice.
Excellent.
So, recommend we send a counselor to investigate the crash site and that region as soon as possible. Our other counselors,
Lhasa?
yeah,
Lhasa?
I
think Lhasa.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. If I try to pronounce it, I'm just gonna butcher it. So yeah, may be best used in trying to gain influence. Our other counselors may be best used in trying to gain influence in other nations. So us being just a organization.
Lasu.
Lawsuit. Okay. Yeah. So
Sorry.
that's fine. So we start the game with 2 counselors, and
Okay.
our counselors can conduct missions which can either influence countries around the globe, or target, like certain counselors can sabotage, target other factions. Counselors can perform special investigation missions like the alien crash site.
Okay.
So our current objective is to investigate the alien crash site. So,
Well, let's do that.
well, so we can actually look at. So, yeah. So that is our only objective right now. Our
cool.
main campaign objective. There are some general ones, but
Okay.
not really too worried about that right now.
Well, yeah.
I'll get to that in a bit. So let's see what we have for counselors. So we started with an American.
Aiden Cecil.
Yep, Aiden Cecil. So he is a scientist. So he has. So if I look at our council tab, we can have a maximum up to, what is that, 6? Plus, I think, a couple of turncoats from enemy factions.
Okay.
But right now we start with 2. So each counselor has their own attributes, stats, traits. So our scientist, he is good with science of all things, but he also has decent investigation, and actually decent administration stats. So this will help us. So certain stats are required for certain actions that they can take. So our scientist, he's able to take a few actions. But for investigating the crash site, I'll probably just use him because there isn't really much else he can do right now.
Okay.
So I'll just use him. So to investigate,
Really out in the middle of getting nowhere.
it's China.
I mean, yeah.
It's Western China.
It's
I
in
mean,
the freaking Himalayas.
yeah, pretty much. It is, isn't it?
Lord.
So certain operations will cost. So certain actions will cost different things. So we have our resources up here at the top of the screen. So this first one, this is our money, and then we have influence and ops.
All right.
Income. This is our ops. So we can potentially get income for this, but that's something I'll go into later. But ops is required in order to do these investigations, and ops can also be used to boost certain actions like assassinations or investigations into counselors. That's what it was. But for now, we're just gonna spend the 5 ops to investigate the alien activity, so we can just get a jump start.
Where do you need me?
Alright, so let's see here. Our other counselor is
Islamabad, I think.
Pakistan.
Oh, Pakistan. I thought you said Islamabad.
What? I don't know what you're on about.
I don't know. I saw something else earlier. But yeah, you're right.
Alright,
Sorry.
so he is a politician.
Oh, great.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's definitely what I want to hear. So politicians are useful for gaining us influence in other nations. So we will want to take a look at the map. So it's currently the 1st of October 2022, and there's an interesting conflict in Ukraine. Imagine that. Yeah, so that's happening. Yeah, so that's happening there. But let's take a look around the maps and see what. So we'll probably want to start influencing nations right away. Now,
is there a strategy to find which nations we should go after first?
yes. So bigger nations are usually harder to influence simply because of their population, and their nations with larger economies are harder to influence as well. So, like the United States, unless they have a lot of people who support your faction, will be difficult to influence. So, yeah, right now, oh yeah, public opinion is really for the Academy. So, they would be pretty difficult to influence.
Really?
So,
Okay.
yeah, we have a 0% chance of influencing them, controlling one of their. So each nation has a certain amount of control points. The United States has 6 of them, one of which is their executive control point. I'll get into that a bit here in a bit, but most nations will have probably around. Most of the smaller nations will have anywhere from 1 to 3.
Okay.
Germany has 4, France has 4, but yeah.
Bigger economies.
So yeah, so things that you want to look out for when you're trying to find a nation is a nation that has a decent economy. So a nation with a good GDP, because that will grant you more financing. Yeah. Because you will just start siphoning money from their economy off on the side.
Sweet. Sweet.
Hey, I mean, whatever. And you want you want to look for that. Possibly nations that, nations with good economies will give you extra money. Certain nations will have these resource regions, which grant bonuses to the nation's economy priority, which priorities are another thing that we'll get into in a little bit. So those will grant bonuses to that. Of course, those also have a couple of disadvantages, and it increases inequality and environmental damage. So yes, we have to worry about global warming in this.
Okay.
Then another thing is science. We need research points, so certain countries will have higher research, which is represented by this monthly research. So Russia has decent science. Most of Europe has decent science. Germany has a lot, 139 a month. And I think the United States, 418.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so the United States is one that you want to look out for, and China. China has a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Of course, they're like the 2 most difficult nations to influence.
Yeah,
so
we gotta start small.
Yes. So there is also, what is it? Monthly investment points. So pretty much what you can invest into a nation. Not too worried about that. But one of the bigger things that we want to look into, well, I mean, there's also nations with armies, so that's something where you can use to either influence nations the hard way or fight aliens. Not too worried about that right now, though. What I'm most worried about is getting a space program set up. So certain nations will have launch sites, launch facilities where they have a space program. Every launch site's different though. So we have boost and we have mission control. So mission control basically is however many rockets and space stations we can have, that sort of stuff. That's just giving us a cap on that. That will increase over time. Boost is pretty much how much like delta V we have to get rockets into orbit.
Okay.
That becomes less of an issue if you're building ships in orbit already, but that's something we'll worry about when we get to it. You pretty much want to start getting that early. So
Okay.
Israel doesn't give you much. It's 0.1 per year, which isn't enough to do anything.
Yeah.
You have places like Russia, though, that has, like, there's one in there's the Ples. You have their Cosmodrome.
Oh yeah, the Cosmodrome. Yeah. Sure,
Yeah,
of course.
one of their Cosmodromes. This one only produced 7.5. The one that I really am always interested, though, is the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan,
Yeah.
which produces 30 per year.
Well, and it's pretty close too.
So, well, not so much that it's close,
guess
it's
it
easy to control.
I gotcha.
So, we don't have popular support in this country, technically.
Okay.
We only hold 2% of the public's opinion. However, because their country doesn't have a huge economy, I mean, their GDP is 520 billion. They're a authoritarian regime. Just all the factors combined, we actually have a pretty good chance of influencing them and taking control of one of their control points. Kazakhstan only has 2, so yeah. I think we will just go with that, because the sooner we get access to their Cosmodrome, the sooner we can start putting shit in space.
Yay.
So it's, so we will control
We'll bring this nation
Kazakhstan.
to our side.
Now, there is a cap on how many control points you can have before it starts impacting your influence income. So right now our cap is 121, and that's not like 121 control points. That is, each control point has its own cost. So the one in Kazakhstan only has a 7.87 cost against our cap, whereas like the United States is, I think, somewhere in the 27.23 cap. So depending on what country, they can be more expensive. So Kazakhstan is relatively cheap to maintain for us as well.
Alright.
So we will do that. So after that, let us go to our research and development tab. So there are, how this is set up is that there are these 3 top research slots. These are global research slots. So all of the factions are contributing research to these 3 if they so choose to, which is the amount that they give is dependent on how many of these boxes that they have selected. But whoever contributes the most to a tech gets to select what tech gets researched next in that slot. So for now, and then the bottom section also is your factions. These 3 bottom ones are your factions' private research. So our audience research right now, I think I'm going to... I think I'm going to swap that to the operations research so we can get more... that's one way you can get more ops points.
Okay.
Is this repeatable tech, so that will give us an extra 20. We'll just do that until we can get some actual proper research projects for that, for our private stuff. But we can do these other techs, so We Are Not Alone, Skywatch, and Mission to Space are the 3 starting.
Okay.
So we can... let's see here. We have a 15% bonus to research speed on social sciences from our counselors. So we have a bonus to doing We Are Not Alone. So that might be one that could possibly be easier for us to research. Of course, we don't have a whole lot of research income right now. So, however, if we do Mission to Space, that will allow us to start launching things into space. So So, I don't know. What do you think? So,
Well, which one's going to have the best impact to us later, early on here, I guess.
yeah.
The goal is to get
Let's
into
see here.
space,
Tech
but,
details. So, Skywatch allows factions to track alien vessels, structures that are inside of the orbit of Saturn. So that's the range for that. Immediately reveals all alien vessels and habitats within our detection range. We are not alone is a requirement for arrival domestic politics, arrival economics, arrival international relations, arrival psychology, arrival sociology, terrestrial military science, and is a requirement for the for faction projects, publicized alien threat, and clandestine cells. So clandestine cells is actually one of the projects that we can research privately, which will give us another slot for a counselor.
I gotcha.
The mission to space allows us to research arrival law, deep space propulsion concepts, orbital shipbuilding, outpost habs, space research, and space tourism. Yes. Excuse me.
Because I was thinking mission to space, but we can go to either that or we're not alone is probably the.
So we are not alone. It's going to take 500. The other two are going to take 250. So. Let us.
You can see the tech trees too. Okay.
Yeah. So the tech tree. Yeah. Let's see the
no.
absolute mass of the tech tree. This isn't even view full. I didn't just crash the game, did I? No. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
this is a very expansive tech tree.
Oh no.
So, yeah. There is, oh god, antimatter torpedoes.
That sounds like fun.
Oh yeah, loads of fun. So there's a lot to do.
Alright, well, I guess you have to look at it, probably research all of it at some point in time, so, yeah.
Well, that's why we have global techs going, so I'm not the only one working towards this stuff. So let's see here. We are not alone. That can possibly lead us towards...
You know what? It's kind of hard. Once you get to a certain point, all the lines go in various
Yeah, I
places,
know. You can kind of tell, but you kind of can't. So
yeah, it starts getting a little bit too much there.
yeah.
Right.
So I mean, I'd probably mission to space.
Space is probably a good
'cause
starting point for us.
Yeah. So we can divert a lot into that to get it done quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And we can potentially, hopefully, be the top dog in getting research points for that.
Yeah.
So let's just put 75% into that. I'm not too worried about the operations right now.
Okay.
So the way we can make this go quicker, though, is influencing other nations.
Yeah,
so Kazakhstan, sadly, only has 19.3 research.
Okay. So now have we technically influenced Kazakhstan, or are we just working on that?
Technically, I haven't confirmed the assignments yet.
Okay.
So we haven't properly started yet.
Okay.
We can also look into, let's see about recruiting maybe another person right off the bat, another counselor right off the bat.
Yeah.
So there is a professor, so each counselor has its own set of missions that they can undertake. So and each counselor, something we have to keep in mind is their loyalty, which is how likely they are to betray our faction. The lower it is, the worse off they are for us. However, I had a counselor who had a given loyalty of 2. However, that number, the apparent loyalty, can be, you can investigate your own counselors with another counselor who has the investigate counselor skill. mission. And that will reveal your own counselor's actual loyalty. So I had one that had an apparent loyalty of 2 in my test game, but his actual loyalty turned out to be 11, which is really good.
Oh,
so
that's good.
that number could be completely off, but oh my god, this one has a loyalty of 25.
Yeah, wow.
An
astronaut too.
He is an astronaut. So so that gives him a higher command stat, which command can be useful for stabilizing countries and advising for countries, nations, militaries. So, just helping that kind of stuff. But because he's an astronaut, he can orbit, deorbit, transfer, and he can assault an enemy space asset.
Nice.
And he can sabotage HAB modules, all that space stuff.
Yeah.
So, let's see here. What else do we have? We can get an officer. He has a really high command stat, but I'm not really worried about officers right now, as much as I am trying to influence countries while they're still open. So I think the sooner Germany will probably be a nice one for us to influence because they have a high science stat and a pretty good economy.
Well, and that professor had a pretty high influence or persuasion.
Yeah, so which is indeed important. So he can control nations. Is there anyone else? So the journalist has a higher persuasion, and they also have a higher loyalty. Apparent loyalty, at least, but they're pretty shit at everything else. Let's see here. They can increase unrest, though, which is something that can help us to make things worse for other factions that control certain nations that we don't. And they can also, this is probably an espionage thing, a steal project. Contact, let's see here, what else can you do? Surveil location, investigate counselor, public campaign. So public campaign allows us to spread our support amongst the populace, so that can pretty much gain their support, and the more people around the world who support us, the more influence income we have, which is always nice.
That one's not too bad. Not too bad. Whichever.
Actually, the professor has a 15.9 income for research.
Yeah.
Probably because of that science stat.
Yeah, probably.
Journalist just has 7.5 influence.
Yeah.
Because of that, I might actually want the professor.
That's a lot of research.
That is a decent amount of research points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And research is important right now.
We can
so
if
that's
we can do that, then we can try to get the journalist on the next go.
Yeah, so because we still have another slot. Of course, this list might be randomized by the time we do that. So now that we have the professor, we can actually assign the professor to a mission now. So let's just go straight to trying to control a nation. Let's see here. So Germany. Okay, Germany's not very likely. I want to try and get one with a decent amount. Now we can use influence to increase that to 26, but that's still not great. What is Poland? Poland, we have a base of 26, but we can go up to 73.
Yeah. Well, what else? What about Finland or Norway or something like that?
Finland, we actually have a really good chance, actually. 25 research, 70% chance of success. Atomic age. Sweden has a better economy as well.
Well, yeah, sure.
Full democracy. You know what's really funny? You can see what kind of government they have. Sweden has a full democracy. England has the United Kingdom, not England, has a full democracy. The United States over here has a flawed democracy.
Nice.
I believe it sometimes, but
what's Canada got?
Oh, Canada, we have a 20% chance of success, and they have a 70 research income and a pretty good economy.
Yeah, sure.
but we can bump that up to a 65% success chance.
What?
At your service.
Now, what we could actually do, because I think
Why don't we look at? You want to look at Middle East a little bit, or further south in there? I don't know what.
so. Well, here let's
Standing
let me
by
look
for
at
orders.
this instead. Let's
Ready for
see
orders.
if I were to
What's the
send
op?
our politician to, let's say, Canada, and then dump the influence into that. 73%. That's not bad.
Not terrible. No.
I actually kind of like that, because Kazakhstan not being that difficult for us to control, I could probably just send our journalists to do that one for free,
Yeah.
or for maybe just a couple of influence points. I like that. Let's do
Putting
that.
our people in place.
Then
Ready
you
for orders.
can influence, can control you, but we can dump a little extra to make sure.
We'll be running this place in no
So
time.
it's not as high of a success rate as if we had the politician, but still pretty good chance.
Sure.
So now that we've done that, we can confirm our assignments. So how this works is we confirm our assignments, and then we let the game run. So we unpause it, speed it up, and here, I'll pause it again really quick. So while it's paused, we can like change research, we can build ships and whatnot while the game's running. But I think it happens. I know later in the game it happens twice a month, but I think at the beginning of the game it's like twice a week or something like that. Once or twice a week, the counselors get the opportunity to. You get the game pauses and you get to assign your counselors to new missions. So
Looks like we're 100% on.
So yeah, well that's 100% guaranteed.
Guaranteed he's gonna. That's a guarantee he's
'cause
going
he's-
to investigate the crash site.
Yeah, so those are guaranteed pretty much. So I'm not worried about those.
I got you. Okay.
We can.
At first I thought that might have been like a completion, like he was done or something.
No. So now we get to select a management team for our faction. So we can choose lobbyists and influencers, scientists and engineers, officers and operators, or financiers and investors. So the lobbyists, pretty much a bonus to our monthly influence. Scientists and engineers, bonus to our research. So that gives us 15 a month. The influencers, we get 3 influencers a month, 3 influence a month. Officers and operators increase our monthly ops income by 3. And then financiers and investors gives us more monthly income, 10 monthly income.
Alright.
So I would almost say lobbyists and influencers, because one thing that I had a lot of issues with earlier was having enough influence. Of course, officers and operators, I was having trouble getting ops income as well.
We're trying to pick up science, more research points through our influence already, so like doubling up on that probably doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
I would say, well, yeah. So it depends on what currency we're going to need the most early on. Is
Yeah.
it influence or is it going to be ops points?
With influence, I know we can potentially, so our counselors, one thing our counselors can do is, can I move this? No, I can't. Alright, so our counselors can, can actually, excuse me, our counselors can actually, we can actually buy and control organizations around the world, whether they be private companies or actually government organizations. So like you can control the CIA, SEAL Team 6, Canada's Joint Task Force 2, right here right now are currently available is the Japanese Special Forces Group.
Fun.
But you also can do, right now the only one we can afford is this Delphi Brands, but the government organizations like the special forces groups and the stuff like the intelligence agencies, they will grant you ops per turn. Of course, they are expensive. Like this Aegis Defense Division, it will cost us 1.2k money to take control over, which later on, that's actually we could do that later on. However, something like the Japan Special Forces Group, we need 150 influence. So
Alright.
to purchase that organization.
Alright.
So those are options later on to getting ops income.
I got you.
So I mean, lobbyists and influencers at the moment will probably be the bigger thing, because if we start saving up that influence, we can probably get something like SEAL Team 6 to
Alright.
give us ops per turn. And I know there are traits that certain counselors have that can give us ops income.
Okay.
So probably the lobbyists and influencers.
Sounds good to me.
So 3 monthly influence. So okay, UN Security Council meets. The UN Security Council has met to discuss the alien arrival. Unfortunately, the hoped-for show of international unity did not materialize, with China, Russia, and the United States accusing each other of hiding knowledge about the alien crash and preventing full access to the site. We have an opportunity to shape events to our advantage, even make our case directly to the nations of the world. However, with the eyes of the world on these meetings, our counselor's risk of exposure to our enemies is extremely high. So here's where the other factions come into play. So each faction, all the other 6 human factions, excuse me again, they all have their own counselors on, but they're hidden on the map to us. Now, certain actions, if certain actions that they do, we have a chance of spotting. So we can either, when a counselor does an operation, they have a chance of being revealed. Of course, most of the time they just appear on the map that you know a counselor's there. You don't really know who they are or what faction they belong to. You can investigate that counselor to gain more information about them, and potentially even gain information about the faction that they serve. So if we were to right now, because our counselors work the same way to the AI factions, so they can't actually see our operatives right now. However, if we were to deliver our manifesto to the world, no one good ever calls their memoir a manifesto. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, we can deliver our manifesto to the world, which gives us a pretty good boost to public opinion for our faction around the world. However, that will also expose us to our enemies. And that also costs us 50 influence, or actually that we will gain 50 influence. I read that wrong. Yes, we would gain 50 influence for doing that, which is pretty nice. We can remain in the shadows and nothing happens, or we can quietly steer support, which would grant us only 25 influence. Is that a motorcycle? Alright. Which grants us 25 influence, and will give us a small opinion boost for the resistance, and a little bit of information about us will be exposed. I'm gonna be honest, public opinion would be nice to our influence income, and we get the 50 influence. It's like any information about us given to the AI. I mean, we can always, so one thing we are able to do with our counselors is have them go to ground, so if a faction is trying to attack them, we can go to ground with them, and they would be able to hide from the other from any faction. So they will be hidden again.
All right.
So we can always deliver our manifesto to the world and run away later.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's yeah, it's fine.
You don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know.
We believe
Yeah, no,
we
that's
can
fine. I
join
think that's
them
fine.
as brothers and sisters. If we only convince them we are worthy.
All right, so we've encountered the academy. So
Yeah.
the academy is their goal is
There's
to
That's the coexistence.
their
correct.
goal is to coexist with the aliens by increasing out humanity's level of technology to a point where the aliens
View us
see
as
us,
equals.
see us as equals.
Yeah.
So we think that's nonsense as the resistance. So
It has always been true that we must leave the
Project
cradle
Exodus
if our
covered.
species is to survive.
yes, so
If
Project
these aliens are indeed hostile, the time to go is now.
Yeah, so Project Exodus. So this is a faction that we aren't going to worry about too much because of their goal, unless they start trying to hurt us. Because their goal is to leave Earth. Just leave. They're run away, run away.
Yes, I got you.
Eh. All
All
right.
right. Okay.
So we just encountered those two
Recon
factions, and we have investigated the alien activity. So
My investigation of the UFO crash. China.
yeah, so we receive so now we will receive a small bonus to our xenology research going forward. So that's nice. So we've completed that objective. So we gain 20 influence and 20 science, 20
Excellent.
research points. So that's nice.
Good.
All right. So our counselor was able to obtain some surveillance recordings from the alien crash site. Our researchers should analyze it as soon as possible.
Yep. Sounds like a plan.
All right. Our counselor has been spotted. That is Aiden.
Wrapping up
So
here.
that is the guy who was just in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was detected by another faction in the
Lawsuit.
Lasu region of China. Detected counselors are targets for enemy investigation or attacks. This counselor may consider using the go to ground mission to shake any pursuit. So that is pretty much our cue to run away, run away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I will do promptly.
Yes.
So yeah, we are now able to undertake the Alien Signatures project.
Okay.
Which is if I
Our presence is growing.
We are
Oh.
taking over.
Yep, we got the control point in Canada.
Nice.
Wrapping up here.
And the one in Kazakhstan.
Good.
So that's
Cleaning
that's
things
nice.
up.
So things are already going our way. That's nice.
All right.
Yeah, let's see here. All right, so yeah.
Now, is that all of Canada, or is it just the one
It's
region?
so all these different, so each control point is basically a different part of their society.
Yeah.
So right now we control their mass media,
Okay.
but there's the legislator control point, which has its own bonuses. So the mass media right now, that gives us 23 research a month and some of the funding, and we can control some of their priorities. So we can basically adjust how much of their budget they prioritize into their society. Now there is a bunch of pre-built setups that we can choose from. Anything from being Marxist and communist to modernization, industrialization. I think the resist preset is probably a resistance exclusive. I think for this, probably
Marxist.
Marxist. Well, we want something. So I think for Canada, Canada is going to be our big focus on research right now. So probably.
Probably modernization.
Well, they're already modernization. I think mostly goes towards their increasing. So each nation is in a certain age. So I think Russia is in the atomic age right now, technically.
Yeah.
Some countries are in the industrial age, but Canada's in the information age. The United States is in the information age. So digitalization, maybe. What does that do? So that puts bonuses to economy, less for military. Warning symbol will accompany the priority if unrest is increasing in the nation. So that's not the best thing. We can take care of that, though. What is that? So that puts stuff into knowledge, which knowledge will increase research, which is currently going down, so we probably want... let's just do digitalization, because countries can start developing their own space programs.
Alright.
If they don't already have one. So, like, Canada could eventually end up building a space center. I don't know what exactly determines that, but I'm not worried about it right now.
Sure.
All I care about is that their economy grows and their research grows. So I think, however...
We'll be ready for new orders soon.
With that, we will...
We'll be ready for new orders soon.
Kazakhstan, we will definitely swap that one to exploratory. Actually, I'll probably boost both mission control and... do mission control, their boost and their funding to max, because that will give us just more for that. But I'm going to take away from their economy. So, one humanity, the growing realization that we are not the sole sapient species in the universe is causing many to see their fellow humans in a new light, leading to hopes that we can overcome our capacity for strife to address the alien arrival as one people. Let us try to set aside our differences and go forward together. So all nations gain one cohesion. Event unlocked, wave of fear, which triggers all nations gain one cohesion. So all nations are more likely to work together now. For now. And the 1 week has gone by, so now our counselors are able to undergo new missions. So now Aiden has been spotted, so we probably want to go to ground because he's supposed to be our investigator. I don't want him to be traveling around and getting spotted, so we can choose anywhere on the world to hide him. And assuming that there isn't an enemy operative in whatever province we choose.
You can send him to resort in Belize then.
Yeah, let's just send it. Yeah, let's do that. He can go. He's going on vacation. Yeah.
Oopsie.
Oh, the mother's calling.
Yep.
Oh.
I'll do this.
Hey, nerd. The servants have a control point in Germany.
No.
I cannot allow this.
Uh-oh, no good.
Yeah, so I realized that there is also an enemy counselor in Brazil.
Yeah.
However, I realized that Aiden can't actually investigate counselors.
Okay.
Because he is a scientist.
Yeah, sure.
That would be a pretty stern reminder.
Ready for orders.
So
Standing
we
by.
actually don't have anyone who can do
Reporting
that,
in.
which is a problem.
Get somebody then.
So yeah, we can hire one. We can recruit another counselor. The problem
What about
is,
that hacker?
yeah, that's who I was looking at. So, is there someone who can? Do we have access to someone who can assassinate? The Fixer can assassinate. He looks like
That's 'cause
Jesus.
he's a fixer.
He looks like Jesus.
Yes.
Perfect.
Espionage, investigation, and
So
assassination. Yeah, that's
he can also purge control points. So purging control points would pretty much we take control of a control point from a faction.
He's in Minnesota.
He can increase. Yeah, he can increase unrest. He can stabilize nations, sabotage, survey locations, investigate counselors. He can assassinate.
Yeah.
He can extract counselors.
Okay.
Pretty much rescuing any of our counselors that have been detained by another faction. He can protect targets. Yeah, he's pretty much an... Fixers are generally all-rounders, but this one in particular is good with anything that's investigation and is decent with espionage.
Can we afford him?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
He only
It
costs
costs
60. So his traits are affluent, so he has a monthly income of 1. He is transparent, so we always know exactly what his apparent loyalty is.
Yeah.
Well, we always know what his loyalty is, which is nice,
Yeah.
which is currently pretty high.
So in other words, he's not going to turn around and assassinate us.
He's not going to turn and assassinate us without us knowing.
Exactly.
And he has a crew. He has a small team of loyal followers who serve as bodyguards. So he can actually give us... So he will give us a monthly income of 1 ops.
Okay, cool.
And he has a +1 to security.
Excellent.
Which security, the higher that number is, the harder it is for enemy operatives to do stuff to him. Now his base isn't that high, but
Yeah.
we can actually increase that as he gains
As he
more
goes.
XP.
Yep. Well, that sounds like a good one.
Yeah, that would be really nice. So, because then I can investigate the counselor in Brazil, and then if it's a baddie, to us at least, we can then just off him.
Nice.
Yeah, let's do that because I also want the ops. Oh yeah, humanity first. Well, I'm not entirely worried. And humanity first though is they're pretty much the more drastic faction. I mean, we really don't hate them as the resistance.
Yeah.
They probably don't like us so much because they think we're only half-assing the job.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, exactly. But they're really not going to. They're probably not would be considered our enemies.
They're not entirely our enemies.
Yeah.
They're not really enemies. It's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
At least we're not
they're
for my
so
mission.
we really won't butt heads so much with them.
Yeah.
So and they, in my opinion, they can have Italy. One thing I might want to do is actually survey the location where the alien crash site happened, because in my test game there was actually alien fauna, alien plants spreading rapidly. So I think it's probably for the best
Initiating
that we
recon.
go there and make sure that that's not
Okay,
happening.
I got you.
Let's confirm that.
They are
and-
here to cleanse our sick world. The aliens are our saviors, and all who oppose them are enemies of the future.
You would assume.
Lending my expertise.
Alright, well, I'm going to pause. Okay, yeah, let me...
Mission in progress.
Let's look at that really quick. Was that
Mission
right?
in
Oh,
progress.
you're still investigating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I probably encountered them somewhere else. I'm not worried about it. So I think with that, though, we will call this episode done so we can figure out sustenance. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
All right.